Paul Fleming, also spelt Flemming, was a German physician and poet, as well as writing notable verse and hymns. He spent several years accompanying the Duke of Holstein's embassies to Russia and Persia. He also lived for a year at Reval on the coast of Estonia, where he wrote many love songs. Life. Born at Hartenstein, in Vogtland, Saxony, the son of Abraham Fleming, a well-to-do Lutheran pastor, Fleming received his early education from his father before attending a school at Mittweida and then the famous Thomasschule at Leipzig. He received his initial medical training at the University of Leipzig, where he also studied literature and graduated as a Doctor of Philosophy before gaining his medical doctorate at the University of Hamburg. The 30 Years' War drove Fleming to Holstein, where in 1633 Frederick III, Duke of Holstein, got up, engaged him as physician, courtier and steward. Towards the end of 1633 the Duke sent Fleming with Adam Oliaris as a member of an embassy to Russia and the Persian Empire headed by Otto Brueggemann and Philip Kruse. Fleming was outside Germany for almost 6 years, much of them in the two foreign empires. Traveling into Russia, Fleming was in an advance party of the embassy which went to Novgorod, where he remained while negotiations went on with the Swedes and the Russians. At the end of July 1634 the ambassadors joined the party, and the embassy proceeded to Moscow, arriving on the 14th of August. After 4 months in the capital city, the Holstein embassy departed again for the Baltic on Christmas Eve 1634, and on the 10th of January arrived at Reval in Swedish Estonia, while the ambassadors continued to Gottorp. Some of the party, including Fleming, remained in Reval. In the event, Fleming was there for about a year, during which he organized a poetry circle called the Shepherds. Not long after his arrival in Reval, Fleming began his courtship of Elsabe Niehaus, the daughter of Heinrich Niehaus, a merchant originally from Hamburg. He wrote love poems for her, and they became engaged to be married. In 1636 the embassy proceeded to Persia by way of a further visit to Moscow, and Elsabe was left behind. Fleming's epistolae ex Persia were 4 letters in verse written during his time in Persia, between 1636 and 1638. The embassy was at Isfahan in 1637. On returning to Reval, Fleming found that Elsabe had married another man and became engaged to her sister, Anna Niehaus. In 1639 Fleming resumed his medical studies at the University of Leiden, and in 1640 was awarded a doctorate. He settled in Hamburg, where he died on the 2nd of April 1640. Poetry. With his contemporaries Martin Opitz, Andreas Griffiths, Christian Hoffmann von Hofmannswalde and the rather later Daniel Kasper von Lowenstein, Fleming is one of the writers now called the Silesian poets, or the Silesian school. As a lyricist he stands in the front rank of German poets. Fleming's well-known poems include Auf den Todeinskind and Madrigal. A number of his sonnets are about the places he visited in his travels. The only collections published in his lifetime were Rubila seu Suaviorum Liber und Klagische Dicta über das unschuldigste Leiden und Todances. Erlöses Jesu Christi, printed early in 1632, the second of which begins with an invocation of Melpomene, the muse of tragedy. His Deutsche Perlmutter, published posthumously in 1642, was later renamed Geistliche und Weltliche Gedichte and contains many notable love songs. Fleming wrote in Latin as well as in German, and his Latin poems were published in a single volume in 1863, edited by Johann Martin Lappenberg. Fleming has been called a man of real poetic genius, the only good poet in Germany during the 30 Years' War, possibly the greatest German lyric poet of the 17th century, and the German Herrick. Günter Grass has called him one of the major figures in German 17th-century literature. Musical settings. Fleming wrote the hymn in 9 stanzas, in Allen minor Tatten, on the melody of O Welt, ich muss dich lassen, by Heinrich Isaac, which is contained in several hymnals. Johann Sebastian Bach used the final stanza to close both cantatas Mein Suse, Mein Tränen and Sie werden Euch in den Bann tun. The complete hymn is the base for Bach's chorale cantata in Allen minor Tatten. Already in the 17th century another composer, David Poehler, had set 12 of Fleming's love songs to music. Works: Rubella seu suaviorum liber. Klagegedichte über das unschuldigste Leid nu NDT Tod unseres Erlösers Jesu Christi. Prodromus. Deutsche Poemata geistlich und weltliche Gedichte was the title of later editions of Deutsche Poemata. Bibliography. Harry Mayne, Paul Fleming. Herbert William Smith. The Forms of Praise in the German Poetry of Paul Fleming. Siegfried Scheer, Paul Fleming 1609–1640. Sinnletre historischen Nachwirkungen in drei Jahrhunderten. Marion R. Spielberg McQueen, The German Poetry of Paul Fleming, Studies in Genre and History. Karen Brand, Die Versität der deutschen Liebeslyrik von Paul Fleming. Gerhard Dunhau, Paul Fleming, Impersonal Bibliographien zu den Drucken des Barock, Volume 2, pp. 1490–1513. Eva Durenfeld, Paul Fleming und Johann Christian Günther. Heinz Endner, Paul Fleming, ein deutscher Dichter im Dreißigjährigen Krieg. Maria Casali-Pohl, Paul Fleming. Ich das lang. Übersetzungen, Reisegedichte. Hans Piritz, Paul Fleming's Liebeslyrik. Konrad Müller, Paul Fleming und das Haus Schönberg. Theodor Calder, Fleming, Paul. Allgemeine Deutsche Biographie 7, Leipzig. Dunker and Amp, Humblot, pp. 115–117. Willy Fleming, Fleming, Paul. Neue Deutsche Biographie 5, Berlin. Dunker and Amp, Humblot, pp. 238–239.